50 degrees and raining in the backyard, but that's not gonna stop us. Because today, we've got a massive piece of prime rib to cook. Prime rib is gonna be one of those things that's on a lot of people's top 5 foods they've ever had type of list. When it's done right, oh my gosh, it's just hard to beat. And to be honest with you, it can even be done wrong a lot of times, and it's still hard to beat because it's that forgiving. But if you really wanna raise your prime rib game up to the next level and get the most for your money, best flavor for the buck, you're in the right spot. Let's get started. Prime rib starts with the ribeye, and in this case, if you've ever seen a ribeye, bone-in ribeye, that's just a single piece off of this hole. And this is a 2-bone, three bone. We got a 3-bone ribeye here. This is a select grade of meat, and this is very common in the grocery stores around here. I know it's called prime rib, but typically it's a select or choice grade meat. But if we cook it just right, it's not gonna matter.
So let's talk about what to look for when you're choosing your prime rib at the grocery store. Now, obviously, prime grade is going to be the best. Choice grade's not bad, but this time of year, I find that it's select grade, at least in my area, that's most available and is on sale. Typically, I'd stay away from select grade meat. However, our cooking method is key here. When you cook sous vide, you're using the element of time to compensate for lower temperatures. We're going to use that principle here, and we're going to extend the smoking time as long as we possibly can to make sure that we render this down and ensure it's tender, juicy, and delicious. You want to do a rough trim and take off any excessive fat or hard fat or fat that's just kind of hanging or sloppy looking. Nothing too serious, just get it trimmed up and looking nice. Let's talk a little bit more about intermuscular marbling. You want to look for a high quality rib roast, one with as much marbling as possible. And when I picked this one out, that's literally what I did. I went through the cooler and I looked at all of them and I grabbed the one that I thought had the most marbling. What is marbling? Marbling is that intermuscular fat. Marbling is those thin layers of fat that run in the meat itself. That's what makes like a Japanese Wagyu A5 so incredibly good, is because it has so much marbling. Select grade has little to none typically. The second most important thing is that spinalis. The spinalis is the end of the ribeye that has that different texture. It's just very loose, tender, and loaded with flavor. It's the best part of the ribeye in my opinion. So the thicker the spinalis, the better. The prime rib is synonymous with au jus. So to create our au jus, we're going to use a pan to collect all our juices. But I don't want the prime rib just submerged. And so I'm going to create a bed that the prime rib will sit on of some onion and herbs. Now our au jus starts with red wine. Use whatever you have on hand, but don't use anything too expensive. We're going to use 1 can of beef consommé, or you can use beef broth. We're going to use about a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce. Then we're going to build our bed of herbs. Our bed of greens is going to consist of rosemary, thyme, and some parsley.
You can use any pit that you'd like. I just think real wood, some type of real wood, whether it's charcoal, logs, whatever. I think that's the way to go here because you want that flavor, you want that smokiness. Some people like the oven style or roaster style. For me, I want that smokiness on the outside of my prime rib. So we're going with a charcoal grill. I was gonna do my Lone Star stick burner, but it rained all day and the wood that I piled up next to it to use for this cook is now wet. But I got a contingency plan, if I'm being honest with you. It's probably gonna make for a better product anyway, and it's definitely gonna cook faster. That's the Kamado Connected Gel. If you don't know anything about that, I have a video about that. I'll try to get a link into the video somewhere.
It's heavy. I don't know how heavy, but it was heavy. However, it wasn't over the top heavy.
But the Kamado Connected Gel basically turns a charcoal grill, egg style, into a pellet smoker, but you know, a blend of the two. So you have pellet smoker controls with a fan blowing on it, getting it very precise, that temperature, that cooking temperature, because that's so important no matter what you're cooking. And so it blows on that charcoal to keep it up to an exact temperature. And that exact temperature today is going to start out at 225. 225 because I want to keep it as low as possible for as long as possible, up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Last steps though, we have a 1/2 cup of butter, unsalted. I'm going to just put that in the pan. I'm gonna use all of this. What gets into the pan is just gonna add more flavor, you know, and it's, you just can't go wrong here. So that's it. We're gonna go right on the Kamado Connected Joe. Like I said, the longer the better. If you can choke it down to 200, then maybe go 200 for a little longer. You want as much smoke on here as you can get. Let's go ahead and get this guy on the grill and get this reverse sear underway.
Chose the Connected Kamado Joe for a couple of reasons. One, my wood was wet, so I needed to go to charcoal. Two, I knew it would give me that really smoky flavor. So I went ahead and filled the base up with some Kingsford Professional charcoal briquettes. But one of the things I really like about this grill is it has a igniter. So basically you push a button and it has a burner that comes on until the charcoal ignites, and then the charcoal takes over. Now, one of the key features about this Kamado Joe is you can basically use it for whatever cooking method you want. In this case, we want to start off smoking. So I went ahead and put the heat deflector down into the base, and that forces the hot air to go up around the outside edges, allowing us to cook indirect. Later, I'll move that deflector plate and we can do some direct fire for the sear. Now, the control panel on the Connected Kamado Joe helps you a little bit by giving you an idea of how much to open the exhaust vent. The main thing is that you hit that exact temperature you're looking for, and that can take a little adjusting in the beginning of the cook. You may have to shut it down a little bit if you need lower temperatures, or open it up a little bit if you need some higher temperatures.
And we're gonna go ahead and start the reverse sear right there like that, 225 degrees. Now, temperature is crucial here. We do not wanna overcook this prime rib, and we wanna have enough time to get some smoke on it that we need to make sure the airflow is exactly what we need to stay at 225. And in this case, I had it open just a little bit further, and I was running about 250 or so. So just a tap. That's all you need, and then keep doing that little tiny bit at a time until you get exactly where you're trying to go, which right now is 225. Half an hour in, and I'm gonna simply just baste this thing very carefully, not to knock off the juices, or the rub, I'm sorry. We wanna put the juices on, we just don't wanna knock off the rub. Nice and slow. Now I do wanna start watching temperatures, so I'm gonna use this blue dot from ThermoWorks, and we're going to try to get right in the middle without hitting a bone. That's right about where we want to be. Half hour in, we're going nice and slow and dragging this out as long as possible. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to maximize that time on the grill right now when it's smoking, braising it every 30 minutes or so, keeping those temps 225, 245. This thing's gonna come out amazing. We're about to hit 114 or 115. We're right at 114. So what I want to do is go ahead and open this guy up, and simply just going to slide him off to the side. I'm going to take my racks out. Then I can get to my diverter. Put my racks back in, and now I have converted to direct fire. Oops.
Now, if you notice, I have some hickory chunks there in the background. I'm gonna put those on the fire for a little additional smoky flavor. You can see on the TikTok and Instagram video, I want this prime rib just kissed by fire. Not too much because I don't want to burn it, just enough to give us that incredible flavor. I used some long tongs and I just kept flipping it every 30 seconds or so. Whenever possible, I did make sure I closed the lid. That lack of oxygen helps put the flames out. However, it leaves a bit of a heavy, dirty smoke. so you want to be careful not to get too much of that. You don't want that bitterness flavor. As soon as I had an internal temperature of 125 degrees Fahrenheit, I used the tongs to carefully put it back in the pan, and then I made the au jus while I was waiting for it to rest for about 15 minutes. My gosh, that looks absolutely wonderful. Let's get a little piece of the spinalis off of this guy and see if it tastes as good as it looks.
Oh man, that's beefy. That's good stuff. The outside has that smoke I was looking for. Let's dip it in the au jus. The wine, the way it comes together with the butter and the smokiness of the grill. Wow. All I can tell you is that is absolutely amazing. Total of about 3.5 hours cook time and worth every minute. Make sure you give this a shot.